And Governor of Abia State, Alex Otti, and the Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Festus Keyamo, jointly performed the groundbreaking ceremony for the new Abia Airport project at Nsulu in Isialangwa North Local Government. Nina Gabriel reports.
Abia Airport.
The airport aims to enhance transportation, boost connectivity, and create job opportunities. Governor Otti emphasized the project's potential to transform the state's socio-economic landscape and thanked President Bola Tinubu for supporting its expansion from an airstrip to a full airport.
In Abia, particularly at this location, will not only accelerate our urbanization agenda beyond Abia and Umuahia, it will also send a clear signal to the world that we are open and prepared to rise to a higher plane in the race for social and economic transformation of our homeland.
The Minister of Aviation, Festus Keyamo, praised the partnership and the airport's role in the economic growth of the Southeast. He assured that the local community would be prioritized for employment.
It was the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, that asked me that he doesn't want any part of this country to be cheated. And in the Southeast in particular, it is only in Abia State you cannot land an aircraft. And so he said, make sure that in the 2024 budget, at least give Abia an airstrip. Airports actually generate economic activities.
Others who spoke at the ceremony described the airport project as a gateway to the world and a catalyst for economic and sustainable growth.
I plead that you continue to support the governor of Abia State to continue to deliver on the dividends of democracy.
One that is going to redefine the economic status of Abia State, especially the people who live within this corridor.
This airport will bring a lot of development in this community.
Going to benefit us a lot, economically, socially, and emotionally, because we don't have...
The project would be built on 1,325 hectares of land, with proper compensation for landowners, and it is expected to be completed in 36 months. Nina Gabriel, TVC News, Isialangwa North, Abia State.
Still in the aviation sector, the managing director of the Federal Airport Authority, Lubumi Kuku, has expressed the readiness of the agency to complete overhauling and improvement of landside and airside infrastructure in 2025. Senior reporter Ayomide Ajegbe has more.
Gathered in this boardroom are directors and general managers from various departments as they celebrate the first anniversary of the MD by showcasing our achievements in the past 1 year.
Under her stewardship, we have witnessed remarkable achievements in safety, security, and passenger facilitation. Notably, in the area of safety, the MD has spearheaded groundbreaking initiatives, including the signing and production of FAN's safety policy and objectives.
The Director of Special Duties says FAN is committed to enhancing safety and security around the airport, and hence has designed a new safety policy which was unveiled at the event.
Today, we will witness the official unveiling of the FAN safety policy, FAN Occupational Safety and Health Manual, and Aerodrome General Safety Handbook, further underscoring our commitment to upholding the highest safety standards across all airports under our management.
The MD FAN, while appreciating and giving out awards to members of staff across the country who have distinguished themselves in several departments, says there is more to be done.
We couldn't have come this far without your commitment, drive, and innovation. Thank you for taking my calls at odd hours during your vacations. At really odd times of the night and the day. We aim to build on our successes and continue to improve in all areas of our operations.
She further reiterates the commitment of FAN to ensuring viable and efficient airport with clear-cut plan for 2025.
On the air side, I mentioned earlier that all of the safety type initiatives are actually ongoing, making sure that we're returning our airports, our major airports back to Category 2, largely around the airfield lighting that is coming up, all of the runway marking, safety standards, and making sure that we are rehabilitating the pavement and the terminals. And then in terms of the actual the landside and the terminal improvements, we're dragging really around the automation of a lot of things that we have, making sure that we're improving the passenger experience, we're upgrading our terminals in our secondary airports as well as our main airports.
Ayomide Ajayegbe, TVC News, Lagos.
Let's take a short break, and when we return, we shall be going straight into our focus for tonight, which is on tax reform bills. Stay with us, everyone. Welcome back, everyone. Stakeholders from the Northern Zone recently convened in Kaduna to offer robust perspectives on the ongoing conversations on taxation and tax reform bills presently presented by President Tinubu, in addition to the effect of the bills, if passed. Meanwhile, Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, the Presidential Special Advisor, Media and Public Communications, Sunday Dare, and the Head of Treaties and International Tax Policy Division, FIRS, Victor Kende, represented the federal government at the lecture. The tax reform bills contain the Nigeria Tax Bill 2024, the Nigeria Tax Administration Bill 2024, the Joint Revenue Board of Nigeria Establishment Bill 2024, and the Nigeria Revenue Service Establishment Bill 2024. The federal government has justified the reason for the introduction of the tax reform bills by the Presidential Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms Committee. It reckons the bills would create an efficient tax system that will spur the country's development. For more on this, as the debate on tax reforms rages on, I'm now being joined by Honorable Cletus Obum, as former Chairman, Action Congress of Nigeria, ACN, Cross River State, and former lawmaker. Good evening to you, Honorable. Thank you very much for joining us on Politics Tonight. It's good to see you again.
Thanks for having me.
Honorable, can you hear me? Good evening to you.
Very clearly, I can.
We have a lot to talk about tonight, but let's start with the tax reform bills, because there's been a lot of conversation about these four bills. Many economic intellectuals have referred to these bills as one of these administration's golden efforts that showcase its willingness to address economic problems in the country. Surprisingly or not, the bill has generated so much tension and debate, and as it can be seen, much of the uproar was from the northern parts of the country. Why is this so?
Well, let me say this to Nigerians tonight. The tax reform bill is suffering from absence of information, adequate information, political gaslighting, and, of course, total misinterpretation of facts and figures. With a coordinating minister for economy like Wale Edu, a merchant banker of many years and experience, driving this economy, Nigerians should by now have known that outside of Okonjo-Iweala, this is the next Minister of Finance that has put our economy on a strong footing and is ready to go and do more to make Nigeria proud. What are the tax policies about, and what are they kicking against? When you say from the northern part of Nigeria, I say it is political gaslighting and total ignorance of the facts available. Today, if you look at the landscape and the media space, especially social media, where the orchestration of the misunderstanding is carrying out from, you will understand clearly that the tax reform bill has now received so much support, even from the northern part. Why? Because now the explanation is clear that the coordinating minister, in furtherance of the renewed hope agenda of the president, has ensured that Nigerians who are poor, who are hungry, who are today in trouble and in dire straits, no longer have to pay taxes, while those who are feeding fat from the Nigerian treasury pay no taxes at all. The tax net has therefore shrunk and focused on those high-income earners, while food security and other things as enshrined in the president's even budget of today demonstrates that the coordinating minister is doing his job. And what is the job? One, to drag the tax net away from the poor, and especially the poorest of the poor. Now, what Nigerians didn't know before now is what Wale Edun has done for us by simplifying our taxes. That is to say, out of the 50 subheads of taxation in Nigeria, he has shrunk them to nearly 10, almost 10 or less than 10 subheads. How? If you are transporting a cow from Katsina or from Duse in Jigawa State to Port Harcourt, you start paying from Duse to Kano, to Kaduna, to Nasarawa, down to Makurdi before you start going to Port Harcourt. You pay in every local government you pass. What the coordinating minister has done in tandem with the present reality is that once you have paid for the takeoff from Katsina or from Yobe or from Duse, as you are carrying that cow, the receipt they give to you in Duse is the one you need to show anywhere you are going to in Nigeria, and that ends it. If you are carrying yams from Ogoja coming to Abuja, what you do is that as you take off from Ogoja Motor Park, the receipt they give you there should be able to navigate you through Boko, through Vandikia, through Makurdi, through Lafia, through Akwanga, through Kefi, and you get into Abuja without paying a kobo on the road, and therefore reducing the indirect taxes that other people pay and increasing the prices of those items on account of the road infrastructure. The second thing about VAT, which was grossly misunderstood, misinterpreted, and taken out of context, which has been reduced, is to the effect that if you make a call today in Ogbomosho, if you make a call today in Bumaji, my community, that call and the VAT charged on it should be kept in Boki local government where I come from. And if it is in Ogbomosho, the VAT on MTN or Glo or Airtel should go to that local government and to that state, part of it, while the other is put in the national basket for sharing on the basis of equality of states. Therefore, if people misunderstood it to mean that they were trying to bring these taxes in order to enrich Lagos, the biggest loser in this entire tax reform is Lagos State. Because most of what used to go to the corporate headquarters of companies, which are mostly residents in Lagos. What Wale Edun has done, and to know that it is coming from a president, Tinubu, who comes from Lagos, that is doing these taxes that even to the disadvantage of Lagos State, is what people should rather commend instead of condemning. And this is what we have not done well. And I think the Nigerian Federation owes this government for its courage. Before today, everybody will not allow himself to be used to start these reforms on account of the next election. But this president, under the tutelage and supervision of Wale Edun as coordinating minister, has ensured that the next generation is more important than the next election. And several times, and that is what he meant when he said in his budget speech today, I mean the president, that this is a road many have avoided in the past, and that's why it is haunting us. So he is not afraid, he's courageous. The president is courageous, the president is patriotic, he's nationalistic, and he has a good lieutenant in the coordinating minister for economy who is directing these affairs and telling him, leave Nigeria a legacy and let elections take care of themselves. And that is what we are seeing on the table today. Right. Otherwise, the tax reform should be commended, and I'm sure that you will be shocked to know that most of the senators speaking on the floor on that first day never read or had a copy of the tax reform bills. They were only acting on emotions.
Honorable, thanks
they were
for
only
going
acting
there.
on biases and mindsets.
Thank you for going there because, you know, and helping to simplify that part of the proposal, because one of the arguments by the North, especially the governor of Borno State, Professor Babagana Zulum, is that because of the derivation clause in the sharing of VAT proceeds, those states are now going to get 60%. That clause for derivation, which states 60% will be shared among states based on derivation. Do you think they are justified in their fears that if the tax bills are passed, it would be inimical to their economic interest? And I also mean that Senator Aliun Dume, who was also on the same page with Professor Zulum, is now talking about timing. In your perspective, is there anything as good or bad timing when it comes to economic reforms?
Precisely why I talked about the issue of courage. Leadership must take decisions and stand by those decisions. It is the worst thing to happen to leadership not to take a decision on account of fear. Never shall we take decisions out of fear nor shall we fear any leader fear to take a decision. Leaders should not take decisions out of fear and should not fear to take decisions. That is what President Tinubu on his Renewed Hope agenda and his team, especially the economic team. Don't forget, if you see the figures that are on the table today, Nigerians do not know it because most of the poorest of the poor have not felt it, and because there is no proper explanation and information to the grassroots using local languages. Let me tell you this, Ali Ndume and Zulum at the point of that discussion, now he has changed the tone. The music has changed from bad policy to timing of the policy. That means a concession. But let me tell you, the greatest intellectual property and integrity of a man is his capacity to accept superior argument and to accept when it's wrong that a mistake has been made. By coming round to talk about timing, Ndume and Professor Zulum, with due respect to Zulum, who is doing so well in Borno State, with due respect to him, they never understood this, and that is why I laid the foundation that most of those who are talking never had a copy nor touched or read a line of the reforms. Now that they have read it, and they are not talking about
understand better now?
Such thing as good time and bad time.
Do you think they understand better now?
They do understand. That's why they are talking about timing. That is to say the reform is good, but it is the time of implementing it. That is to say we should wait till when we are old and no longer in power, then we can afford to do that. Now that we are in power, the time should be held back. We should hold on the hand of the clock. That is exactly what they are trying to do. That is revisionism. That is revisionism, trying to rewrite history and correct yourself without accepting that there was a fault. So for me, I think that the tax reforms, even the greatest and harshest opponents and critics have agreed that the economic team is doing wonderfully well and that the reforms brought at this time are the best. The figures are showing we are planning for a 47.90 budget, and out of that, 15.7 billion, 15.81 billion is debt recovery. If you take 15.81 away from that figure of 47, what you have is 32.9 billion as the actual expenditure that Nigeria needs to have in 2025. Of that sum, the president has said we can provide 34.6 trillion of that money, meaning that without the debt profile of debt repayment of 15.81 trillion, Nigeria would have overshot even its own expenditure by way of the revenue it will generate, because the president has told you he's projecting 34.6 trillion. That means if you take 15 from 47, you are going to get 32. So if you have 34, that means you have 2.9 billion waiting to take care of other issues. So for me, this economy is running on course, and it is a matter of timing and time for Nigerians to discover that what they have in their hands is something that is palatable, commendable, and that we should rejoice about, and that we should commend the merchant banker and the director of economy, Chief Wale Odu, who has done so much to ensure that this country's economy is stabilized by floating the naira and stabilizing the economy in a manner that today we can be talking about 3.4% increase in our revenue, as against 2.4 billion by last year. This time last year, we were already dealing with 2.4 billion, but today we are dealing with 3.6 billion naira in terms of our own revenue rakings that we have done. So the economy, for me, is gradually taking shape, and Nigerians should indeed be rejoicing that a new dawn is indeed before us, and all we need is patience, cooperation, and collaboration. And we want to commend our armed forces for also getting and ensuring that our farms are now safe, and more places and ungoverned spaces are now in good shape, so that farming activities have resumed. And the robust program on agriculture, only yesterday, the president released 300 billion to universities of agriculture to show that he is not doing he is walking the talk. And that is all because the economic team is bringing to bear the reality that Nigeria cannot undertake to toy with food security in a country of over 250 million and the best and largest black nation on planet Earth.
All right, Honorable, I want us to talk about the Ministry of Finance and how well or otherwise that ministry has performed in the last 18 months or thereabout. But first, I want us to look at what the president said today while delivering the budget to the joint session of the National Assembly. I'll be right back to discuss further.
Key priority areas: rebuilding Nigeria. Our budgetary allocation underscore this administration's strategic priorities, particularly in advancing a renewable agenda and achieving its developmental objectives. The highlights of the 2025 budget allocations: defense and security, 4.91 trillion naira. Infrastructure, 4.06 trillion naira. Health, 2.48 trillion naira. Education, 3.5 trillion naira. The time for lamentation is over. The time to act is now. It's a time to support and promote greater investment in private sector. A time for our civil servants to faithfully execute our policies and programs. It is a time for every Nigerian to look hopefully towards a brighter future, because a new day has dawned for us as a nation. As your president, I remain committed and resolute to continue to lead the charge.
All right, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu there, delivering the 2025 budgetary estimate of 47.96 trillion naira to the National Assembly. Honorable Obum, are you there? Let's continue this conversation. That budget proposal articulates the federal government's financial plan for the 2025 fiscal year. First, we saw an extension of the 2024 budget lifespan to June 2025. How do you process that latest development? And second, the total projected revenue for 2025 stands at 38.8 trillion naira, out of which the expenditure is projected at 47.9 trillion, which is like an increase of 36.8% from the 2024 estimate. You look at the deficit for 2025, it's projected at 13.13 trillion naira, representing 3.89% of GDP. How ambitious is this budget? Honorable Obum.
Well, let me first tell you that we are dealing with a public that is averse to figures and technicalities. So I'm going to reduce it to the brass tacks as much as I can about this budget. And budget experts. So it is for Nigerians to know what is in it for them, beyond budgets and beyond figures. Our position and our explanation and the hope we have in this present budget is that the ambitious nature of the president and his firmness in the way and manner he has made that presentation gives you straight away that, like he said, it is time for action. What are those actions? Putting words into action requires a solid team. That solid team, that is why he kept emphasizing, if you look at that speech, he used the word collaboration. He talks about it tangentially and directly, about collaboration, cooperation, and support. He keeps repeating it in almost every paragraph, leading with it. What that means is that it will amount to nothing. It will become a ritual as usual if there is no firm commitment from every citizen and every sector and every actor on our economy, especially those in the formal sector and those who are presiding and superintending on our economy. The percentages and the figures you are talking about will come to nothing. For instance, if the security situation, like he said, the foundation upon which the budget is laid is security and infrastructure. If the roads are not there to lift even the cement or petroleum, and the rails are not there to ship things across the country, if there is no environment that encourages investors to come into Nigeria. If you look at our foreign direct investments, if you look at our earnings in the last quarter of this year and project it against the 2023 budget, you will agree that a lot of mileage has been attained. So the ambitious nature of this is targeted to show that the president is gaining in confidence and also gaining the confidence and trust not only of Nigerian investors but also of foreign investors. I will give you statistics now. You will agree with me that by this time, corresponding period of the first year in 2015, on the coming of APC government, the first assignment the President then, Buhari, did was to give bailout to states. The second thing was to start giving palliatives. And the final thing the government did before leaving office was, as much as possible, try to make releases to say that we are becoming like making states look like Armagiring on the streets of Abuja. Today, what is the case? No state. In fact, as at that point we are talking, remember in places like Benue State, governors were owing local governments for over 8 months and owing civil servants for over 18 months. Today, the story is different on account of the solid foundation and fiscal policies of this government and the financial backbone that is coming from the economic team headed by Chief Wale Edun. You will agree with me that no state is talking about owing anymore. Instead, states voluntarily are increasing their own, even beyond the 70,000 that the federal government. Before now, when you say 70,000, 60,000, 30,000, some states never paid it. The only state at the time that ever attempted it was Edo State under Adams Oshomole, who out of the 18,000 that was approved by the government of that time was paying 22,000. Maybe because of his labor background. It is today that we are seeing a resurgence of that type in which states are offering 75,000, 80,000 to their workers as against the 70,000. What is the reason for this? Because funds have been released on account of what you know today as the removal of oil subsidy. What you mean now that you have more injection of revenue from outside, especially outside non-oil sectors. Enough of money is now being raked in to government on account of the policies of the economic team. So I want to tell you that the Renewed Hope agenda and this president's ambitious budget is realizable, it is realistic, it is ambitious, it looks almost impossible, but I can tell you it is a big possibility with this kind of president being an accountant.
Like you knew where I was heading to, Honorable Obum, because many have questioned, looked at how feasible are these benchmarks. If you look at the key economic potentials that this 2025 budget framework was based on, talk about oil price benchmark of $75 per barrel, oil production capacity of 2.06 million barrels per day, and an exchange rate of 1,500 naira to a dollar. How feasible are these benchmarks in the face of global economic challenges?
Now, let me come there straight away. It is not the first time we are getting these benchmarks, but I'm saying to you that if, within the present circumstances, we have found ourselves raking in more funds, why not $75 per barrel in 2025? Realizable. Why? The global economic shakeup, the war in Ukraine, the energy crisis in Europe and the Americas, and of course, the turmoil in Gaza, Israel, and others, you are going to find a situation in which oil is... Today, there was a surge in oil prices, only today. If you check your World Trade Center and other platforms to see the today oil prices, you'll be shocked. This is the 18th of December. 12 days to go to end the year, or 13 days, and you are dealing with a situation in which the oil prices are going to hover around that 75%, if not over. Remember that by 2014, 2013, 2012, we had projected $65 per barrel. We got 115. The lowest we got at that projection was $100 to a barrel. And at the time, the coordinating minister, that is why I compared this minister of the present coordinating minister Wale Edun to Okonjo-Iweala. She warned Nigerians that they must have to keep that money and save it in a sovereign wealth fund. What did Nigerian governors do? They went to court to insist that the money must be shared in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution, in which all revenues accruing to the Federation must be shared with the federating states. They did that, and shortly after that, we got into an oil lull in which there was a doom. And Nigeria was almost not selling oil, not to talk about the price, which went below $30 per barrel. So if you now take that projection today, and Nigeria has gone into oil theft so heavily, provided security in the oil wells and oil rigs of the Niger Delta, and providing succor to the Niger Delta people, and especially also creating the Ministry of the regional economy, for the regional economy headed by Momo, then you will agree with me that the president is not speaking to the air, is not chasing shadows, but talking realistically, because he has a solid team behind him and also has projected and known that the figures he has gotten this year, I've just given you some figures here. I told you that as at this time in 2023, we were earning $2.4 billion, but today it is 3.4. Look at the difference that we are making. The global projection for revenues for Nigeria was far less than that. Today, we are getting higher figures. So the president is growing in confidence, especially after making some tours and making some contacts and getting into some collaborations and synergy with other countries. You have look at what the ECOWAS is trying to do by building a regional economy and trying as much as possible to bring stability to the region. He's also bringing the economic stability of the country indirectly, coming side by side along with the stability he's bringing to the Naira, bringing to the economy, and getting the informal sector that constitutes over 85% of Nigeria's economy. He's stabilizing it and providing succor for it. Parents no longer have to deal with the issue of worry so much about school fees because of the NEL fund, that is the student loan fund, to call it in ordinary parlance. These are workable and feasible and already verifiable indices by which he can build his projections for 2025. So to that extent, that budget, ambitious as it sounds, may definitely not be inordinate ambition, but ambition based on solid foundation, as solid as the Rock of Gibraltar.
I hear you, Honorable Obum, but how concerned are you about a borrowing spree? I mean, still about these figures, the 2025 budget was estimated to be 48 trillion naira and had a deficit of 13 trillion naira, which would be financed through borrowing. For PECs to be spending more than we generate and borrowing more, how concerned are you?
Let me tell you what he is doing in ordinary terms. I gave you the figure of 47.90 as the budget. 47.90, which are calling 48. And I told you of that amount, 15.81 trillion. That 47 includes what do you call it? The same amount that we are talking about. That amount is going to be borrowed to pay back the loans that we are given. I ask you, in ordinary life, is it possible for anybody who is earning 50,000 to go for a loan of 100,000 and will be given? What that means, that people can give you loan, means that you have the confidence that this person can repay. Ability to repay is a foundation upon which loans are given. So that economic trust, that confidence, is what makes people give Nigeria the money and loan it. Nobody will loan money to a country that is a banana republic and it's shown no sign of ability to repay, unless you are giving it as a grant. Even as a grant, you don't give it to a wasteful spender. You don't give that. So if Nigeria have built the confidence of the world, and especially the Brentwood institutions and other such world institutions, to gain their confidence to give them a loan, then clearly it means Nigeria has come of age economically and that the economic team is doing well. Otherwise, nobody will give a dime to you when he knows that first, you are not going to utilize it for the greater good of your people, and two, that it was going to be frivolous spending. Can you look at your neighbor whose main task every evening is to go get drunk and return to the house, and the next morning he tells you to give him transport to go to work, and then you give him the money, he goes to the next shop, he is drinking for money till night. Will you give him a loan? If Nigeria was not developing, if Nigeria was not doing well in its development within the last 18 months, nobody will be talking about loan for Nigeria, because nobody is going to look at you or look your way. So it is a mark of confidence that Nigeria can still attract loans to fund their foreign debts, and that we have about $42 billion in our foreign reserve today. 42. And we are talking about a recovery date, a repayment of a bill of 15.81 trillion. 15.81 trillion in foreign reserve. If we have 42, then clearly you should know that it will take Nigeria nothing, and that is why anybody can give you a loan knowing that you can repay it, because if we get the projections right, you will discover that paying that thing will not be anything. Remember that only recently this government had repaid so much of its foreign debt. It virtually cleared it when it came into power. Barely 10 months into office, they repaid almost everything that Nigeria, but because of the recurrent crises that are being generated in the country, Nigeria, and especially this president, under the tutelage of two great economists, Wale Edo, and of course, Ashwaju himself, an accountant. This is the first time we are getting it so good and getting the right team to do the right job for Nigerians. There is nothing to fear. Nigeria presently is standing solid and unshakable economically speaking.
All right, Honorable. Let's take a break, and when we come back, we will continue this conversation. Please stay with us, everyone.
Doubt and fear doesn't occur at the canvas, it shows in the canvas. It shows the conation of raw earthen material slabbed, stroked and molded at a pace provided by the doubt and fear. Every move way in the struggle of one to the other, merging the past to the present, brushstrokes of colors seen but not known. For when the wailing stops, the pieces settle down in abject beauty erected for a century of a century. Speaking, advocating, protesting as the arts are meant to be.
There is always more to a story than the screaming headline. The part of a story that is not told casts a shadow. It's like the part of an object that is not reached by light. On TVC News, I'm able to explore the many angles there are to a story, talking to stakeholders, asking the difficult questions and digging for facts. I believe the viewers are able to make a better decision if they're well informed and understand not just a part, but the complete story. TVC News, first with breaking news.
Muhammad Ali was born and raised in Louisville, Kentucky on January 17, 1942. His birth name was Cassius Marcellus Clay Jr. He began training as an amateur boxer at age 12, and at 18 he won a gold medal in the light heavyweight division at the 1960 Summer Olympics and turned professional later that year. In his early years as a professional, Clay was more highly regarded for his charm and personality than for his ring skills. He sought to raise public interest in his fights.
Welcome back to Politics Tonight, everyone. Thank you very much for staying with us on the program. Tonight, I've been speaking with Honorable Cletus Obum, former chairman, Action Congress of Nigeria, ACN, Cross River State. As a former lawmaker and public affairs analyst. Tonight, we focus on tax reform bills and other matters arising. Honorable, thank you very much for staying with us on the program. Now, we're winding down. We have about 20 minutes to go. But how would you describe the activities of the Ministry of Finance in the last 18 months and thereabouts?
Well, let me say that since August, when this August last year, when this minister came on board, a lot of dramatic events have occurred, and Nigerians have begun. You understand that economics is not a turnkey technology, that it is a matter of planning and he has shown himself to be a master planner. And no wonder he succeeded so well as a private investor banker, a private merchant banker, and everything he has taught, the innovations and creativity he has brought into the financial market in Nigeria, especially with First Bank, is something that today all other banks are copying and for which Nigeria's economy has got. By introducing a lot of innovations into the system, Chief Wale Edun has demonstrated that indeed something good can come out of Bethlehem, and this Bethlehem is Nigeria. And that when people tell you that Lagos, Nigeria will be Lagos, he has demonstrated that good things, he who is faithful in little can be faithful in much. So from the tiny creeks of Lagos to the massive plains of Abuja, Chief Wale Edun has demonstrated that his brains and browns have never failed him and have no boundaries and have no limitations. Clearly, you can see it in all the policies. The tax net have increased. Only this year, between that last year when he took off and today, our revenues have shot up in a dramatic and astronomical order. I can give you the statistics over and over again. We were already getting 75% of our expected revenue. We generated that in the third quarter of this year, something that we never attained in the last decade. We never got to that unless when there was that oil boom in 2014. In 2024, under the heavy challenges of insecurity, under the heavy challenges of political turmoil, over the global turmoil that has come, he introduced policies that have become, for us now, the staying energy and power for which Nigeria is going to be known as a world power on the African continent, economically speaking. Let me give you this. In about the last quarter again, he had to expend about 85% of revenues that were, because before today, revenue, expenditure, and budgets were mere rituals. You hear that Nigeria is going to expend 47 trillion. At the end of the releases, actual releases, if you have ever made a budget before, you will understand what I mean by actual releases. The money actually released to ministries and for actions. Places like the police, the army will tell you that they never got up to 20% of their allocations in a year. It has been so all over the years. But under this regime, under Wale Edun, because he has thrown the tax net, created innovation, and introduced technology into revenue generation, there's less human interference. Corruption has been reduced, and leakages have been reduced. That is why so much money can now come from the oil sector, non-oil sector, customs, immigration, can generate so much within a short period, and that money is now made available, which is why I told you that such money is getting to the state, the subnationals. The states have made it impossible for any state to complain of paying salaries or of not starting or developing any infrastructure. Only today, the Minister of Aviation was in Abia State trying to get Abia State to generate, to start an airport. And of course, you already know what is happening in Abia, for example, the same Abia State, about electricity and the generation of power in Abia State. These are not things that you cannot ascribe to the economic policies that are today making leakages and revenue accruable to states and even to the federation for distribution and redistribution. Those revenues have become so handy that states no longer come cap in hand to Abuja to loan or to owe salaries or not to start infrastructure because there are questions being asked. And these are all made transparent. Transparency has now improved in government. You can now see that a cupboard touch of government money can be immediately noticed, not just by economic and financial crimes, but by special units, by establishing what he calls Ministry of Finance Incorporated. He has established a team of monitors who now regulate and monitor what is happening in the economy at the state level, at the national level, and all collectible taxes, all collectible revenues are now transparently channeled into one pool through the TSA. This was not so before. Before now, it was physical people going to collect monies that earn in personal pockets. Today, those monies can no longer be touched by anybody because he had. Remember what he did with First Bank. Our smart cards that we are using today as ATM cards and such other digital transmission of monies and other such things were the innovations he introduced in First Bank that have become global best practices today. So on the national scale, I imagine that
because he's also, hold on, Honorable Obun, because he's also the coordinating Minister of the Economy. In your opinion, would you say that the economic reforms of this current government have started yielding results? Yes, the federal government says The country's debt service to revenue ratio has dropped from 97% to 68%. We should free up resources for investments in security, infrastructure, and other critical sectors of the economy. Allocations to the 3 tiers of government have increased. But then the common man on the street will begin to ask, when do I begin to feel the impact of these economic reforms?
When you give deadlines to the impact of national policies, you must deal with the subnationals, because devolution of powers is what this government attempts to do by freeing up those funds, and he is not seeing the impact on the states. That is why it was the federal government, for the first time in our history, that took state governments to the Supreme Court to interpret the meaning of local government autonomy. That is one huge, giant step that Nigerians don't want to. It is to free and ensure that the freed revenues accruable to local governments are actually used for over the 80% of our citizens that live in those rural areas. That is the intentment. And people are not looking at it from that angle. All we are looking at is how do we reach it. Not people living in the urban and doing nothing. Some unemployable, some not employed, some not, in fact, sophisticated enough, not even able to even go as acquire a skill, and yet want to earn and dwell on government because they are used to government patronage. If you go to the rural areas, especially the agrarian areas like my own in Cross River today, if you go to the rural areas, you'll be shocked at the level of wealth that is being distributed there. When the price of cocoa rises, it shows on the economy of the people. ICOM is a local government in Cross River, the commercial capital of Cross River State. Prince Otu presides over that state as governor of Cross River State. Most of the problem he's having now is how to contain with the wealth flowing into those areas. But I can tell you this, on his own, federal roads in Cross River State have now had an intervention by the state government for the first time in a long while, because before today, when you do that, there's a refund. But now the federal government has stopped that. But Prince Otu has gone ahead between Calabar and Ehom in Biase. Was completely impassable. People had to go past through Ebonyi State to come to Calabar. Today, between Bekwara and Ikom, between Ikom and Obudu, we are all completely bad. Today, Prince Otu had gone there as the governor to do that. Where did he get the funds from? How did he get the funds to do that? It is because funds have been freed, and he's demonstrating that there's something coming from the national. How did that occur, if not for the economic ingenuity of the financial wizard sitting as the coordinating minister of the economy in Nigeria today? I want to tell you that clearly the funds that are freed and the impact on the citizens is going to show in a matter of time, in a matter of months, because like the president said, I agree with him, that the book of Lamentations in the Bible was not written for Nigeria. If it was written for Nigeria, it is not under the watch of Chief Wale Odu.
All right, but if we're to take a look at how the minister had tried to stabilize the naira and also reduce foreign exchange pressure, because at different times, Minister Wale Odu has reeled out different strategies. I mean, you hear him say there are not enough foreign exchange savings to give the country a positive balance of trade. You also hear him say Nigeria needs improved oil production to beat forex supply challenges. How complex are the situations on our hands? And would you say his vision for a prosperous and competitive nation is clear?
It is as clear as daylight from his pronouncements. That means he identified. The first way to solve a problem is to identify it. So problem identification is what he has done. Over time, he has shown that he is firm and clear-headed about the policies that are going to stabilize the Nigerian economy. And as you can see today, both the so-called parallel market and the official rates are competing. Nobody is again going to Zone 4 or going to Airport Hotel in Lagos to go and exchange dollar, because you now know that the difference is not clear. How did that happen? It didn't happen overnight. It was long planning by the policies of this same man. I also give you another example in terms of our own accumulation of foreign exchange. I am telling you today that we have $42 billion in our foreign reserve, up from less than 30 billion. As we speak now, and that is under the same circumstances in which most countries today are going into recession. Even the best of economies are going into recession and have suffered one recession or the other. Since the past 18 months, Nigeria may have suffered and been battered, but Nigeria has not gone into any recession. That itself is magical. That itself is miraculous. And that will take the ingenuity of a financial genius. And that is what we are seeing here now. So by his own pronouncements and by his own articulation of the situation and anticipation of what is to come, he has been able to arrest the drift of the Naira endlessly. The free fall of the Naira has been stemmed, and we are going to see it go down more and more. Naira is going to gain more and more over the next short period. The oil production you are talking about and the refining of the oil, look at the economic policies he has brought in place for us to be able not just to produce oil but to also refine it, in trying to throw money into the refineries in Port Harcourt, in Warri, in Kaduna, and align Dangote to float and compete. And that is why I will urge him this night to take a deep look at NNPC and tell us whether those manning NNPC are indispensable. Because clearly, you can't be a regulator and an actor in the same industry. That is undue advantage. That does not bring for fair competition and a level playing ground, economically speaking.
So you're saying there should be a shake-up
some of
in
those
NNPCL?
Precisely, and rules clearly defined, and the unbundling or attempt to unbundle it must be manifest, must be firm and clear-headed, and must be defined and definite. And that is why I insist that fear should not drive the process, nor should we refuse to do things out of fear. That is the point I'm making, and that is the responsibility of leadership. And I think Ashwaju has lived up to it. And with a coordinating minister of this nature, I am sure that his stability is guaranteed.
All right. I guess we should wrap it up tonight. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Honorable Cletus Obum, former chairman, Action Congress of Nigeria, ACN Cross River State, former lawmaker and public affairs analyst. Thank you so much for your insights on the program tonight. We appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, and may Nigeria be blessed.
Amen. And thank you so much for watching, everyone. That's our package tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again tomorrow. Good night, everyone.
Yanga, they come. Like never before, the biggest and first ever Christian Awards to celebrate and honor faith-based creatives in different industries like arts, music, fashion, content creation, and entertainment is set to hold in Lagos, Nigeria. This year at the Muson Center on Nikon Lagos, the Kingdom Achievers Award will be holding a third edition as we recognize outstanding excellence in the Christian culture, awarding your favorite gospel creatives for their excellence in their various platforms. To prepare you ahead of 2025, there will be a panel session featuring top industry leaders in business, fashion, content creation, music business, and many more. Plus, there will be career support, business opportunities, giveaways, and networking. Isn't this exciting? Do not miss out on this lifetime experience. Jump on by registering online at kaawards.com. Follow on social media at Kingdom Achievers Awards. Oh, and registration is free. Kingdom Achievers Award 2024. The Convergence.
The following is a paid presentation by Shopex TV. At Shopex TV, our customers are the heart of everything we do. As a special thank you for your continued support, we are offering our customers 10% off on selected products. That's right, shop now and save big on some of your favorite items while stock lasts. Don't miss out on this opportunity to grab amazing products at unbelievable prices. First is our amazing 4-in-1 Cookex blender. It's a food processor, a grinder, a blender, and a juicer all in one. The Cookex 4-in-1 blender comes with 3 versatile cup sizes, each crafted to handle special tasks perfectly. Imagine effortlessly whipping up smoothies that are truly smooth, pounded yam and soups that are flawlessly pounded and blended. You would normally pay 189,950 Naira for the Cookex 4-in-1 blender, but call the number on your screen right now or scan the QR code and get it for just 170,995 Naira. Incredible! And that's not all. You can get the Cookex 4-in-1 blender in 2 easy payments of 85,498 Naira. That's right, pay twice to get this amazing cooking solution. And we are not done yet. Shopex TV is proud to introduce the Shopex Ultimate Crunch Exercise Machine. The 6-in-1 machine is designed to take your fitness to the next level. No need to worry about expensive gym fees. You can now work out from the comfort of your home and achieve results. With Ultimate Crunch cutting-edge technology, you can transform your body. Its enhanced features deliver a full body workout that's efficient, effective, and enjoyable. The secret is its advanced design that combines multiple exercise models into one unit. The versatile machine features adjustable resistance levels, an ergonomic design, and a built-in digital tracking system that displays speed, time, distance, and calories burned. From sculpting your abs to toning your legs, upper body, and strengthening your core, you would normally pay up to 449,950 naira for the Shopex Ultimate Crunch. But for a limited time only, call the number on your screen now or scan the QR code and get the Shopex Ultimate Crunch at 404,955 naira. Incredible! And that's not all. You can get the Shopex Ultimate Total Crunch in 2 easy payments of 202,478 naira. That's right, pay twice to get this amazing fitness solution. But hurry, limited stocks available. So call the number on your screen now or scan the QR code or visit our website to place your order while stock lasts.
The proceeding was a paid presentation brought to you by Shopex TV.
Wherever you see destruction, it's because God is absent. There is no destruction in God. So who started killing from Genesis? Satan. Jesus exposed him. The thief cometh not, but for to steal, to kill, and to destroy. But I am come that you may have life and have it how much? More abundantly. I prophesy as your amen is coming like thunder. Whatever is yours, receive it now.
At TVC News, wherever the big news stories At TVC News, wherever the big news stories happening, we're geared up to break it. TVC News, first with breaking it.
Last month, UN Climate Conference in Baku, Azerbaijan, concluded with an agreement calling on developed countries to deliver at least $300 billion per year to developing countries by 2035 to drastically reduce greenhouse gas emissions and protect lives and livelihoods from the worsening impacts of climate change. Well, still in this week's edition of Green Angle, we examine the outcome of the summit and what the future holds for developing countries. Welcome, I am Esther Mopariola. Now, Lagos State is stepping up its fight against climate change, and at the recently concluded COP29 summit, state officials unveiled plans to tackle the growing impacts of climate change in the coastal city. They announced new investments to tackle their climate action goals and called on everyone to play a part in creating
for me, it doesn't hold water. I'll tell you why. You need to have an industrial boom in a country that has to develop, right? You need manufacturing. Manufacturing will not happen on solar panels. You will mitigate the emission impact of manufacturing. While you are mitigating this, you must make them pay to pollute, right? So in Lagos, for instance, our law has polluter pay principle embedded. And it is not just it doesn't encourage people to pollute. It really just makes them more cautious, because you know that the more pollution you have, the more you will pay. Also, it means that if you install pollution abatement facility, you will pay less, right? So they are deliberate with installing pollution abatement facility. Also, there will not be 100% coverage of pollution. It doesn't happen. Stoppage of pollution. It doesn't happen anywhere in the world. What we're saying is we will measure your carbon footprint and make you pay for the excess that you have generated. You will pay in many ways. First one will be, direct financial payments. The second one will be carbon offset programs, like providing clean cooking for women, planting trees, and a couple other things. So you will pay for polluting in Lagos and in Nigeria.
Niger State is making moves in the fight against climate change by partnering with a German consulting firm to tap into the carbon market. Meanwhile, activists are calling for real action, not just promises, warning that climate change impacts everyone and demands urgent, inclusive solutions.
Niger State has taken a bold step towards maximizing its carbon market
develop carbon project that has additional co-benefits for the people, rather than waiting for multilateral, bilateral, programmatic finance
are being lost and poverty is on the increase on a daily basis.
People who are forced to evict, are forcefully evicted by these issues, now move to higher grounds where resources are also scarce. So that breeds a lot of conflict because they now have to struggle.
The risk of flooding has shifted to Estella and southern Navarra, with authorities closely monitoring the situation. In Logroño, the city council is keeping a close eye on the Ebro River, which is expected to reach over 1,000 cubic meters per second in the coming hours. Residents in flood-prone areas have been urged to stay away for their safety, as emergency teams remain on high alert.
Green Angle returns in just a moment. Stay with us. Next, we had a chat with the special advisor to the Lagos State Governor on climate change and circular economy, and she shared perspectives on the outcomes of the COP29 summit and how it aligns with
for us is not for us to sit on funds. It's not our purpose. So, you know, when we saw the output from the negotiation room, what it just says on one end is that it's time for us to start being introspective, building up on our own resources that are available to us, and how can we begin to harness those resources, you know, for our own use. But on the back end, you know, we also know that to access these funds, you must have the right structures, you must have the right tenets, you must be able to capture the necessary data backed by compliance under the provision of the UNFCCC Article 6.4. You know, these are what is needful for you to say that you're structuring yourself as a business. So our partners are engaged on that basis. We engage with them to be able to provide the projects that can help them to drive the Article 6.2 or 6.4 compliance that they require to play in the carbon market. It's great. It's great to negotiate these figures, but it's even greater for us to be able to identify the vehicles that we're going to use to be able to access. And it sits within the space of education. It sits within the space of knowledge. We must improve our knowledge in how to be able to ensure that our projects are touching on what is needful. For instance, you know, it is part of the policy, even when Biden came into office. And one of the things that he mentioned within his plans, you know, within his framework for sustainability, was a clean cooking stove that should, you know, that was to be run in Africa, right? Clean cooking stove is almost like a silver bullet, because if we are able to establish clean cook stove, we will address the issue of deforestation. We will address the issue of health that is declining on a daily basis. We will improve the quality of life of our communities. We can also, to a great extent, open up the space for business opportunity, for job employment within that space. There's no way you want to establish or you want to be able to foster resilience if you're not adapting to the shocks, you know, from a global or from a domestic perspective. And instructively, there was a roundtable a few days ago about how we're going to develop and mitigate these shocks that are you know, prevailing, you know, upon us. I think that for us to be able to drive this and engender as much, if I can use the word connectivity, or engender as much impact, you know, participation from our communities, then we need to let them know what they stand up against. 2025, you know, if you know the budget, it was called the budget of sustainability. And what it means is that sustainability has become the bedrock of how we can build resilience. You know, those things that we used to do within a linear economy framework, we need to start to redimension. We need to start to reorientate our minds and understand that resource efficiency is very, very important right now. Minimal waste in processes and systems is really, really critical. You know, supply chains, even in the area of, you know, machinery and equipment, we must become very, very innovative in how we can begin to utilize and basically just help our businesses to be recycle our businesses, recycle our machines, recycle the purpose of the deliverables within our even on a domestic level. Our EcoNexus platform presents an opportunity to continuously showcase and drive report and ensure that we're able to get participation from our corporate entities. EcoNexus was designed specially for that, for them to be able to see that what government is bringing to the table is a platform to be able to establish a coalition, of machinery, in terms of funding, in terms of resources, in terms of intelligentsia, in terms of innovative solutions, where what we need as a government is to be able to provide that enabling infrastructure for the connectivity between people, community, and the private sector. It is from the private sector that we can get the funding, and that pipeline would have to go into the MSMEs, the nano and the micro MSMEs. And these micro and nano MSMEs are the ones that interface directly with the communities. When they start to, interrogate, or when they start to interact, that exchange creates a burgeoning where the ones that are, scaling are able to see that there are business opportunities. When businesses are able to expand their operations, people get more jobs onto their table. They get food onto their plates. If they are gainfully employed, they develop in skills. We need to drive the essence. We need to position businesses in the communities. It is the businesses that will open up the gateway. They will open up the pipeline. They will drive the commerce, and in driving the commerce, the data can also be captured because they are knowledgeable about that, and it is that data that they then use for regenerative finance.